generation strategies under the Kenya Kwanza administration. The legislators are set to deliberate on the bill throughout the day until 9:30 p.m. GMT, with a focus on the taxation measures and recommendations following the government's decision to eliminate certain taxes. The session, which kicked off early Tuesday morning, has seen MPs voicing their opinions and providing oral submissions concerning the tax policy measures outlined in the financial bill. Key areas of focus include analyzing the contents of the bill itself, as well as evaluating the suggestions made by Finance and Planning Committee following the government decision to scrap taxations, certain taxations, and stimulate economic growth. Here is more.
That we have every member speak for 5 minutes instead of 10 minutes, Honorable Speaker, so that we can have all of us contribute. Honorable Speaker, thank you.
Honorable members, according to a motion we passed at the beginning of this session, the mover of this bill has 45 minutes, which he expended. The seconder, 15. Majority leader and minority leader, 15. Each member speaking has 10 minutes.
That passed the 2023 finance bill and later on went and told Kenyans they didn't have time to read it. Now listen keenly. If you didn't read that one, you listen to us. Mr. Speaker, oppressive tax policies do not make good economic sense. And Mr. Speaker, let me just put it this way, that the last year's proposal was intending to raise 214 billion. But because it was oppressive, Kenyans did not pay as expected. And in fact, what we collected was only 131 billion out of that finance bill, which was only 53% of the target. Mr. Speaker, the more burden you put on people, the more likely that they are going to look for ways to avoid that tax. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to be careful. We warned that would happen, that people would evade. You didn't listen. This revolution, which is unfortunately a kindly revolution, Mr. Speaker, it is unstoppable. Because when we were in the streets, you could call Raila Amolo Odinga, you could call Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka and ask them to tell the troops to go back. Who do you call when you pass this bill? So I reject and I vote, I reject. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
In passing laws and legislation in this House, Treasury makes wild proposals that comes to the House. But it is up to this House to sit down, debate those proposals, look at them, and see whether they are fair revenue-raising measures for the country. Honorable Speaker, we have had a thorough public participation, one which Kenyans spoke their feelings about the finance bill. Honorable Speaker, Kenyans talked to the committee. Kenyans raised their voices about contentious issues in the finance bill on the proposals that were brought from Treasury. And Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that the proposals that were made, the proposals that we had from the Treasury did not go unchanged by the committee, Honorable Speaker. And I would like, Honorable Speaker, to just note a few things. The proposal of 16% VAT on bread was dropped. And there's a proposal in the report that be dropped. That is a win for Kenyans, Honorable Speaker, that now we will not have the 16% raise on bread in the finance bill. That has been dropped, and Kenyans are safe. They can have bread and Mui and the children in school. But what has this committee done in terms of those things? They have reorganized the taxation within a payslip, and now there'll be more money on people's pockets from their payslip because the committee listened, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are many gains. Honorable Speaker, the women.
That's a point of order, Minority Leader.
You know, Honorable Owen Baya was doing fairly well until he mentioned my name in respect of political parties fund. Honorable Speaker, you know, political parties fund is not a favor to anybody or to any political party. And as a matter of fact, the threshold set out in the law has not been met in this regime. Therefore, I want to ask you, Honorable Speaker, to compel Honorable Baya to withdraw those very unfortunate remarks and apologize profusely, not only to me, but to the House and Kenyans in general. Thank you.
Owen.
Thank you very much. It is very true that the budget has money for political parties, and that money will come from...
Let's see more on the finance bill as Kenyans took to the streets of Nairobi by storm to air their grievances to the members of the National Assembly, urging them to vote against the bill, even after the Kenya Kwanza administration, led by President William Ruto, convened the majority team parliamentary group at the State House, a convention that proceeded at the press conference in which the outcome of the meeting led into a drop of the VAT on bread, removal on the VAT on sugar transportation, maintenance of the mobile money transfers, among other issues. But this could not kill or stop the taxpayers from storming to the street. Here is the full report.
It was a hide-and-seek game between the police and the rioting Kenyans who made their way into the central business district in a move to raise a signal to their parliamentarians, urging them to reject the finance bill, which they stated that it was punitive and was a heavy burden to them, even after the Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group led by Kimani Ichung'wah promised to make changes on the bill. Kenyans who took to the streets carried placards and bottles of water in their readiness to counter the anti-riot police who were deployed within the CBD to maintain the law and order. Just few hours after the Kenya Kwanza parliamentary group addressed a press conference at State House in Nairobi on changes they will be making on 2024 finance bill, which included the removal of VAT on bread, sugar transportation, maintenance of mobile money transfer charges, removal of 2.5% motor vehicle taxes, among others, Kenyans still will not agree on these changes, but instead insisted on raising their voices, urging parliamentarians to reject the bill, no matter the changes made.
We are protesting against increased taxation. We are not activists, by the way. We are just concerned Kenyans.
Businesses at the central business district were brought into a standstill after the police threw tear gas to the picketers, a move that turned chaotic and wild, but this could not stop the demonstrators from raising their voices. This is the first time that Kenyans have taken to the streets rioting for the finance bill, and makes the first demonstrations by Kenyans without influence from the opposition leader. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
First time Kenya takes it to the street concerning the finance bill. Now moving on to Haiti. The Haitian police commanders met with Kenya Inspector General of Police on Tuesday ahead of a planned deployment to Haiti as part of a new-backed multinational peacekeeping mission to combat gang violence. The Haitian delegation expressed reliance on Kenya's support as the Kenya Inspector General assured of their commitment to assist. The Haitians also met with commanders of 1,000 Kenya officers to set and deploy, as Kenya is supposed to host training for the Haitian police and provide facilities. President William Ruto reaffirmed Kenya's pledge to restore peace in Haiti, with the U.S. President Joe Biden appreciating this during the recent visit of Ruto to the United States. The initial May deployment was postponed to finalize the logistics, with Haiti facing a long-standing challenges through the past UN missions still being controversial. South Korean military fired warning shots after North Korean soldiers crossed the military demarcation line in the border area between the two Koreas on Tuesday. The incident occurred when around 20 to 30 North Korean soldiers briefly crossed the line by about 20 meters, that is 65 feet, into the demilitarized zone DMZ, before reiterating back north after warning shots were fired by the South nation. Here is the full report.
The South Korea's military fired a warning shot after the North Korean soldiers crossed the military demarcation line in the border area between the two Koreas on Tuesday, according to the country's Joint Chief of Staff. Some 20 to 30 soldiers breached the line by 20 meters, which runs through the middle of the demilitarized zone on Tuesday morning, and briefly moved back north after warning shots were fired by South, according to a JCS official. North Korean soldiers also suffered multiple casualties while working due to the explosions on landmines in the DMZ, as JCS official told the press. The North Korea's military has been conducting various activities along the front line, including deploying soldiers and planting landmines since April, as JCS officials added. Such activities appear to be part of the efforts to tighten border control and prevent North Korea from defecting to South. The South Korean military is closely attacking the activities of the North Korean military in the frontline areas, as well as working closely with the United Nations Command. The JCS released photos show a group of North Korean soldiers removing railway tracks along the railway lines connecting the two Koreas, as well as reinforcing tactical roads and planting landmines. The incident came as Russian President Vladimir Putin visited North Korea on Tuesday and Wednesday for the first time in 24 years, according to the two countries.
And that international news brings us to our first break. Next, we'll talk about Putin's visit to the North Korea as he vowed to beat the sanctions, and the White House bailed on Netanyahu, stating, and I quote, "We don't know what he's talking about." That was meant for Netanyahu. We're going to see why. We'll also get to see about the Iranian presidential debate that was recently conducted as the nation gears towards its election. This is after President Ibrahim Raisi died in a plane crash. We'll also cover on the China-North Korea emerging issue pertaining the Ukraine conflict, topics you can't afford to miss. We have this and more lined up for you shortly after the break. Stay tuned with us.
Karibuni sana guys, if you are just joining, this is the Youth Hub, the show that gets you to
I think I'd do the same. I think I'd do the same because
iPhone stores.
Hey. I think Thursday is like a Friday. You know the way you would expect a Friday night to look like? Every Thursday. Nikitoka job napitanga, and then even without remembering which date, nikiona tu it must be a Thursday. You hata hajui hawataipata tena. Already ashaanza story. No, yeah. Standard, and there's this one who is trying to be a wannabe. I want to fit in.
And afraid kabisa.
What is the problem? Maybe we make a corner insights.
Me, it's mental health. Yeah, because like there are lots of people, many university students are suffering from mental health. Woga kuna line kwa bafu. Alafu tena ndio matron anakuja after 30 minutes anafunga. Anafukuza.
Kwa nini watu waja hapa?
Welcome back. You are still watching The Ambassador GBS Global, and we are glad to have you join us on board. And moving on, it is a great day for Cyril Ramaphosa as he awaits his inauguration for his second term as the president of South Africa. Guests and the public are arriving at the Union Building Nelson Mandela Amphitheatre despite the cold weather. The inauguration will be conducted by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and attended by a diverse group including South African royalty, members of parliament, political party representatives, and leaders from various sectors. International and regional bodies such as the SADC, AU, and the UN will also be well represented. The ceremony will be graced by 18 current and 3 former heads of state and the government, along with other high-level delegations. Countries represented include Eswatini, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Angola, Tanzania, Uganda, China, Egypt, Palestine, and Cuba. The event theme is 30 years of democracy, partnership, and growth. Listen in. What a beautiful day for South Africa, and Cyril Ramaphosa as he gets inaugurated for the second term. Now let us move on to Russia. The Russian President Vladimir Putin made a rare visit to North Korea, a visit to be concluded on Wednesday, where he was warmly welcomed by the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un at the Pyongyang's airport. The visit of Putin's first in the North Korea in 24 years aims to further and strengthen ties between the two countries, both facing international isolation and seeking to challenge the United States-led global order. Listen in.
Russian President Putin has made a rare foreign trip to North Korea, a visit aimed at strengthening ties with an old ally that supports Moscow's war in Ukraine. This marks Putin's second visit to the country, with the first being in 2000, where he met with Kim Jong-il, Kim Jong-un's father. Ahead of Putin's visit, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un praised the expanding ties between Moscow and Pyongyang, describing their relationship as unbreakable comrades in arms. The two countries are locked in separate confrontations with the United States, with Russia over its invasion of Ukraine and North Korea over its advancing nuclear program. Russia and North Korea have denied allegations of arms transfers, which will be a violation of multiple UN Security Council resolutions. However, South Korean Defense Minister Shin Won-sik reported that North Korea had shipped about 7,000 containers filled with munitions and other military equipment to Russia. Russian officials have said that boosting defense ties between the two countries was discussed during Kim's visit to Russia in September, but they didn't disclose any specific steps. According to Professor Andrei Lankov of Kookmin University, Putin's recent trip to North Korea highlights the deepening relationship between Russia and North Korea, with a focus on strengthening trade and security ties. Putin's trip to North Korea marks a significant escalation in the relationship between the two countries, which could have far-reaching implications for global security. The deepening ties between Russia and North Korea undermine the security of Europe, Asia, and the US homeland. The implications of this visit are clear. Russia and North Korea are strengthening their alliance, and the world must be prepared for the consequences.
While Press Secretary Jean-Karine-Pierre stated during a press conference that in Washington, D.C. recently that the United States genuinely did not know what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was talking about when the leader claimed that the U.S. has been withholding weapons and ammunition to Tel Aviv. During Netanyahu's address, the Prime Minister also proposed that he receives assurances from the United States Secretary and the State Antony Blinken administration that was working day and night to remove the bottlenecks. Here is the report.
In May, President Joe Biden paused a shipment of high-payload munitions, concerned about a potential major Israel attack in southern Gaza, densely populated city of Rafah. This pause is the only confirmed instance of withheld shipment from the U.S. to Israel. Biden has criticized Netanyahu's approach to the war, citing civilian casualties and humanitarian aid blocks. During the press conference, Jean-Pierre also commented on Russian President Vladimir Putin's first visit to North Korea in over 20 years. Putin's official visit to Pyongyang, scheduled for June 18 to 19, come at Kim Jong-un's invitation. During the visit, they are set to discuss various topics, including the economy, energy, agriculture, trade, international relations, and security. This visit marked Putin's second trip to North Korea. His first was in 2000, when he met Kim Jong-un's father and predecessor, Kim Jong-il. Following his visit to Pyongyang, Putin will travel to Hanoi at invitation of Nguyen, Secretary General of the Vietnamese Communist Party Central Committee.
Iran held its first televised presidential debate on June 17th, ahead of the June 28th elections following the death of President Ibrahim Raisi. The 6 candidates, all handpicked by the Council of the Guardians of the Constitution, discussed on the country's economic problems, including the inflation, the budget deficit, and ways to fight corruption. The debate centered on the economy, with candidates discussing their plans to the economic growth, stability, infrastructure development, and they also touched on the need for substantial investment, with estimates ranging from $200 and $250 billion. Here is the report.
This was the first of 5 debates planned in the 10 days remaining before voting a shortened campaign to replace Rise. Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei that once floated as a possible successor to the 85-year-old cleric. Speaking about Iran's high inflation, Pezeshkian blamed the banks for printing money. It seems that the candidate is unaware that central bank prints money, not all the banks. According to Iran's constitution, the exclusive right of issuing the country's currency belongs to the Central Bank of the Islamic Republic of Iran. No bank in the country has the right to print banknotes. None of the candidates mentioned in the link between inflation and 2 factors of foreign sanctions, harmful government control over the economy. With less income from oil exports and inefficiencies resulting from government interference in the economy, the central bank is forced to print money, which in inflation continued rise to a widening budget deficit, and the stability of the banking system dominated the final round of questioning. Candidates with links to late President Ibrahim Rais sought to project that most of such problems were the legacy of the former administration under Hassan Rouhani.
A joint press conference in Washington, D.C. on Tuesday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and the NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg accused China, North Korea and Iran of exacerbating the conflict in Ukraine by providing military support to Russia, as Blinken condemned China's alleged backing of Russia's action as contradictory to its professed aims for the European stability. The allegations highlighting the international tensions amidst the ongoing crisis in the Ukraine and Gaza, prompting scrutiny of global alliances and security dynamics. Here is more report on the same.
Blinken took aim at China for allegedly supporting Russia's military actions in Ukraine, while claiming to seek better relations with Europe.
And with regard to China in particular, as I've said before, it can't, on the one hand, say that it wants better relations with countries in Europe, while at the same time fueling the biggest security threat to Europe as a whole since the end of the Cold War. So if China in particular, which professes to have a strong interest in ending the war, if it really means it, it will stop fueling the war machine, and we'll continue to do everything we can to cut off the support that countries like Iran and North Korea are providing.
He also singled out North Korea and Iran, asserting that both nations have supplied munitions and weaponry to Russia, thereby intensifying the conflict. The accusations against North Korea included concerns over its missile and nuclear programs, echoing broader fears about global security implications. And regarding the Israel-Gaza situation, Blinken emphasized the urgency of preventing further escalation.
So the President's been very clear from day one that he will do everything he can to make sure that Israel has what it needs to effectively defend itself against these threats. And a big part of that as well is making sure that in providing that assistance to Israel, it has a strong deterrent, which is the best way to avoid more conflict, to avoid more war, to avoid what we're already seeing in Gaza spreading to other areas, to other fronts. That's been one of our objectives.
Secretary General Stoltenberg echoed Blinken's apprehensions, underscoring the interconnected challenges facing NATO in both Europe and Asia. He highlighted the necessity of strengthening NATO's partnership in the Asia-Pacific region to effectively confront global security threats.
Great day for Cyril Ramaphosa as he awaits his inauguration for his second term as president of South Africa. Guests and the public are arriving at the Union Building's Nelson Mandela Amphitheatre despite the cold weather. The inauguration will be conducted by Chief Justice Raymond Zondo and attended by a diverse group including South African royalty, members of parliament, political party representatives, and leaders from various sectors. International and regional bodies such as the SADC, the AU, the UN will also be well represented. The ceremony will be graced by 18 current and 3 former heads of state, and government, along with other high-level delegations. Countries represented include Eswatini, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Namibia, Angola, Tanzania, Uganda, China, Egypt, Palestine, and Cuba. The event's theme is 30 years of democracy, partnership, and growth. Listen in.
Yes, I am familiar with the prescribed oath.
Do you have any objection to taking the prescribed oath?
I have no objection in taking the prescribed oath.
Will you consider the oath binding on your conscience once taken?
Yes, I consider the oath binding on my conscience once taken.
Yes. Please then, Mr. President, read the oath aloud, and when you come to the end of the oath, raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
In the presence of everyone assembled here, and in full realization of the high calling I assume as President of the Republic of South Africa, I, Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa, swear that I will be faithful to the Republic of South Africa and will obey, observe, uphold, and maintain the Constitution and all other law of the Republic. And I solemnly and sincerely promise that I will always promote all that will advance the Republic and oppose all that may harm it. Protect and promote the rights of all South Africans. Discharge my duties with all my strength and talents to the best of my knowledge and ability, and true to the dictates of my conscience. Do justice to all and devote myself to the well-being of the Republic and all its people. So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Your Majesty, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the President-elect has been duly sworn in. The President of the Republic of South Africa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations are in order for South Africa as President Cyril Ramaphosa gets inaugurated for the second time as South Africa's president after a major and a consecutive consensus of joining of parties. And that international news brings us to the end of our ambassador, GBS Global. It's been a pleasure having you on board, joining us to the end. Here at the Ambassador, we continue to bring you the latest updates and global developments as you keep it locked with us. Have been your ambassador, Jennifer Macau, and I'm looking forward to see you here at the Ambassador tomorrow, same time, same place at 1 p.m. And may you all have a superb and the most beautiful and a wonderful afternoon. Stay safe.
Everywhere, GBS.